Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your Two Shelf. Today I'm doing a video about authors that I would like to read more of. I have a bad habit of reading an author, enjoying their work a lot, and then not always going back and looking what other things they've written and reading more of their work. So I thought I would pull together a list of authors who I have read mainly one, occasionally two of their books, and either own more books by them but haven't read them yet, or don't own any by them but I would really like to. So I'm going to just move the camera a little bit actually because I'm not very straight. Hold on. There we go. I'm a bit more central now. So I'm going to just run through the list of the books that I've read and the books that I'd like to read by these authors. So the first one that I have on my very teetering pile over here is Kate Atkinson. So Kate Atkinson, I have read two of her books, Life After Life and A God in Ruins. I've read Life After Life twice, and I would say it's on probably my favourite books of all time list. And I have this book by Kate Atkinson, which I haven't read yet, which is Case Histories. And this is the first in a crime series, a Jackson Brodie crime series. And I'm not really a crime reader, but I think lots of years ago I heard about this series and bought this book. And one of my friends says that Kate Atkinson is her favourite writer, so that's also spurred me on to read more by her. So if you have any other recommendations for any of these authors about where I should start next, or books by them you think I really must read, then please do say in the comments, because a lot of them have a lot of books like Kate Atkinson. So the next author is Angela Carter. So I read The Magic Toy Shop, I think last year, for Shorty September, and this was a 5-star read for me. I loved Angela Carter, and one of my favourite booktube channels is Christiane Jones, and Angela Carter is one of her favourite writers, so she spurred me on to try Angela Carter. So again, this one is quite a dark book about a girl who has her parents have died and she has to go and live with her uncle, who's a really cruel character, and he has a shop where he sells toys that he's made. This was great, and I would really like to read some more Angela Carter. I then have a book which, again, I can't remember, I think I might have read this year, and this is wonderful. This is Milkman by Anna Burns, which was the Booker Prize winner in 2018. Gosh, time flies. And this book was so wonderful. It's one I would highly recommend listening to on Audible, because if you open it, it's extremely dense like that. There's no dialogue in this. Well, there is, but it's not like written, like short little lines of dialogue. It's lots of long sentences. And I listened to this, and the narrator is from Northern Ireland, and so you can hear this as it was meant to be written, which I think is wonderful and is an incredible feat of work. And Anna Burns does have a back catalogue which I would like to read. The next author that I have is Tayari Jones. I read An American Marriage last year, and it was one of my books of the year. I absolutely loved American Marriage, and this is one of Tayari Jones's other works, and this is Silver Sparrow, which I believe is about a man who has two separate families, and one of the families knows about the other, but the other doesn't. And I think the two of his daughters meet. So it's got 3 words: lies, secrets, and hope on the back cover. But I'm really excited to read this because I loved An American Marriage so much. Then we have an author who I have read 2 of their books. So this is Sarah Moss. And I found out that I think this is actually a painting on the front cover. Yeah, this is a painting. Isn't that just insane? I always thought this was a photo, but it's acrylic on board. That's incredible. So Sarah Moss, I read Ghost Wall, which is a modern day book, but it's set in a like an archaeological kind of camp where everyone's living as they would have done in the time period of their camp. And then I've also read one which I forget the title, the most recent one, which she wrote about the COVID pandemic, which was incredible. but I can picture the front cover. I just can't see the title, so I'll insert a picture. And I have The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss, and I also have Bodies of Light, which I borrowed from my friend Shona many years ago, and I still haven't given back. And yeah, I just really like to read more of her works because I really liked her writing in the last 2 books, and I would like to carry on with her work. The next author is one who's quite beloved on BookTube, and that is Donna Tartt. So I have read The Secret History, hasn't everybody, which is the sort of seminal dark academia novel. And this is her novel which was next after The Secret History, which is The Goldfinch. This is on my autumn TBR. I talked about this quite recently. I've already seen the film of this and really enjoyed it, and it's about a young boy whose mother is killed in an explosion in an art gallery, and he steals this painting called The Goldfinch and how that changes his life. It's a real big chunky book, but I think it will be very much worth the effort of reading it. I've also got a classic on this list. I could have put lots of classics on because classics is something that I haven't really focused on in the past too much, but as time's gone on, especially from the influence of different channels on BookTube and my friend Jo, I have been reading more classics, and one of my favourites that I've read so far has been D.H. Lawrence. So I've read Sons and Lovers, but that's the only D.H. Lawrence that I've read, and I really enjoyed this. And this was I think a 5-star read for me. But I'd really like to explore more of D.H. Lawrence's work because this is the only one that I've read so far. I've watched at least one BBC dramatisation of his work, but this is the only one that I've read. So again, if you can recommend a next novel to start, then please do so. Next is an author who I've only read one of their books, and that is Jodi Taylor. I read The Nothing Girl probably 2 years ago now, and I absolutely adored it. And I have listened to one of her short stories actually as well in the same group of novels. This is a completely new series by Jodi Taylor, and this is the St Mary's Chronicles of St Mary's series, and this is the first one called Just One Damn Thing After Another. These are time travel series set in a boarding school, but I think they are very sort of light-hearted and fun to read, and so I thought I would give this a try. I've been wanting to try this series for a long time, and I found this in a charity shop recently, and for that reason I bought it and want to get into the series. There's quite a lot of books. I don't know if it tells me in the front, but there's quite a lot of books in this series. So in the front there's 10, but then there's also some digital shorts and stuff like that which kind of slot in as well. But yeah, so a big series to embark on. I then have an author who I don't know any of their other works, but Jennifer Niven, All the Bright Places, was one of my favourite books of the year. I think actually I read this year, so I haven't put my favourite books of the year out yet, obviously, because it's not the end of the year yet. But this is a wonderful YA book. This deals with teen mental health and teen suicide. And I was extremely engaged with the book and the characters. It's written with dual perspectives between the two main characters, and it also has a wonderful film adaptation as well, which is how I found out about the book. And so if Jennifer Niven's writing is as good as this every time, I absolutely want to read more of her works. I haven't bought any more of her works yet, but again, tell me where's a good place to start. And the next book is a really big book that I read last year. It was I think it was my number 3 book of the year last year. And this is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a high fantasy book, which is massive, but very much worth the effort. I absolutely love this. And there is a prequel to this, which has just come out, so I would definitely like to read that. It's set in the same world. So this is a fantasy with dragons and magic and set in an alternate world, and it's just so wonderful. And Samantha Shannon's written some other series, and I would really like to read more of her work. I follow her on Instagram and she seems really cool as well. This was brilliant, and don't let the size of it put you off because it's well worth a read. And then the final 2 are also fantasy authors. So I have Neil Gaiman. I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman a while ago, and I'm hopefully going to see the theatre production of it in Norwich with one of my good friends, I believe next year. And yeah, so this is a brilliant fantasy, and I've heard lots of good things about Neil Gaiman. He's obviously very popular. Again, Christiane Jones talks about him a lot, and so I'd like to read more of his back catalogue. And then finally, an author who I'm actually reading a book by at the moment is F Kuang. I'm reading Babel at the moment, like a lot of people are on BookTube, and I'm adoring Babel so much. And I already owned The Poppy War, but I hadn't read it yet. And this is the first in a trilogy. And I watched R.F. Kuang give the Tolkien lecture at Oxford University on their YouTube channel recently, and she talked about how all of her books are quite different in theme, so it will be really interesting to read another book which is completely different from Babel. And so this is, I've got a place to start with this, and she's got that series, and she's got a new book coming out anytime soon as well, called Yellowface, I think it's called. So they're all authors which I would like to read more of their work. I'm also going to do a video about authors who I own their books but I haven't tried them yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'll like them, so authors that I want to read for the first time. So as I said a couple of times throughout the video, if you're familiar with the back catalogue of any of these authors and you want to recommend me a good place to start with them to explore more of their works, then that would be great. If you've got any authors who you found the same, that you've loved their work and then haven't picked up any more for some reason, then again, let me know who those authors are. And I will speak to you all soon. Have a lovely week. Bye.